Both in good spirits for right now.
Ooh, on the draw phase, we are dropping a Dimension Shifter. Chain Perulia.
Wow, okay, so we're seeing so much happen so fast.
I want to see how John is going to pivot from this particular point where you're under two things locked into the field already.
It's a lot to keep track of. Again, nothing is going to the graveyard, but we're going to see a lot of additional draws.
This might pay off, especially against the Vanquish Soul part of the deck, which does summon from hand.
Ooh, looks like we're still in a chain here. We're going to Ash Blossom the most charming Perulia.
Oh, that's a great counter. I mean, that's not going to pay off for these particular cards, Vanquish Souls. That's going to be raised and summoned onto the field.
We're going deep into the deck here. Again, if you love fighting games, you probably love that beautiful mat that we have for the North American World Championship Qualifier, featuring that cool character select screen for all the different Vanquish Soul. Let's see which character Razen goes ahead and tags in here.
Now that Dimension Shifter might not pay off as much, as Vanquish Soul themselves have been known to play Dimension Shifter themselves.
It is a dark.
It's great insulation there as well to be playing as deep of a deck as John currently is with the Vanquish Souls, playing as well the Snake Eye engine, meaning that, yeah, you could just choose to not go into the Snake Eyes cards if you don't want to.
Definitely a lot of flexibility here. Looks like we're going to go ahead and tag into the next.
I believe that is a summon of Jiaolong because a card was revealed. Oh, we've got a Bestial Magnamut summon, activation from hand, summon banishing the that's going to be Dimension Shifter.
Yeah, you won't have any other targets as Dimension Shifter has had its effect go off, but now we at least will get a search in the end phase here.
That end phase search could change up this entire game, depending whether or not that Magnamut is going to stay on the field, because you can go into Genroku, and that would turn into an immediate summon during that end phase.
And it's true that John's still kind of flying blind. Nothing yet quite says Tenpai, right? The only thing you've seen is Dimension Shifter, the Mulcharmy, and Bestial Magnamut does telegraph a lot of different decks, but not necessarily Tenpai.
Well, I think it's pretty close. These are some of the main deck cards that they would play. I mean, that's 3 in a row already.
You are seeing the Mad Borger hit the field there.
It's a test of how deep John's knowledge is going to be. Does John have this read? Because sometimes, yes, this is a big event. Yes, these are the top duelists in the world. But if your friend group is only playing testing certain decks, if your tournaments you're going to are only playing certain decks, you might not have as much experience against something like this. Tenpai is pretty popular, though, so I do imagine that John should have an idea of what's going on.
No, you're definitely right. You can't just play against an imaginary duelist. It has to be the duelist across from you. But how are you going to know them if you haven't met different types of duelists out there? So a great reminder to expand your horizons and play against a lot of duelists. But speaking of plays, looks like we are going further here.
Man, that blocked off Mulcharmy is really paying off now. We're not going to get the additional... Yeah, we're not going to get the additional draws. And... Ooh. We're going to end phase now. We are going to get the search from the Bestial Magnamut.
All right, the cat's about to be out of the bag here.
Are we going to... We're going to go for Pydra.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
We did see the setting up our next turn.
The Drone Lockbird can't really happen under Shifter, so we're pretty safe.
Just kind of get to stare at it longingly and say, oh, if only you worked.
Yeah, Tom Box, I know you've played a decent amount of Vanquish Souls, pretty comfortable with this one. How confident do you think we should see John here with the feel that he was able to set up?
I think there's, right now there's one direct disruption, mainly being the Caesar Valius being on the field. And, careful there. We got the summon of from the Rock of the Vanquisher. That's going to lead to the summon of the Ryzen. Ryzen does have a reveal effect to destroy the cards in that same column, the monster cards.
Well, over in Tenpai Town, we just added Sungen Kaiho to the hand there. Might be able to see the little Mahjong trifecta getting everybody on the board, but...
Now, we do have a Chandra in hand. There's another Shifter, which is likely not going to do very much for the rest of this duel. So we got the Borger also added to hand from the Ryzen. I mean, that's what Vanquish Soul is all about, maintaining hand resources, drawing cards, getting all those additional searches, and just keep on cycling until your opponent eventually runs out of cards.
It's a very durable deck, so trying to get this big pile of Tenpai against it, well, may not actually happen just because it's able to roll with the punches.
Very slippery deck, too. Hard to actually deal with the monsters that are on your opponent's field when you feel like you actually want to. They're able to quickly bounce away.
We get the summon of the Heavy Borger bouncing back the other monster now, the Dr. Madlove. And we're going to reveal 2 to pop the monster, to destroy the monster in that same column. I believe that is Ryzen's effect.
And there is a little bit of information given here, as one of those fires revealed is Snake Eye, so all of a sudden Isaiah knows that maybe in the next game, if he doesn't Tenpai to victory now, he will be facing Snake Eye later.
And that is going to be destroyed and banished. We are still under Dimension Shifter, so I mean, that dragon is gone for good now.
This is one of the tough things about the Tenpai deck is, yes, you can theoretically play the Dimension Shifter. It's very strong against a lot of the top decks right now, but it makes your own line a little harder to manage. You still can, but you have to play it very safe and very resource conservative, because if you just, blow through all your monsters, you're not going to get their recursive effects back from the graveyard.
So now we're going to be activating Sangen Kaimen. Sangen Kaimen lets you add a fire dragon. It seems like that's what we're doing. I believe if we are in main phase, we're not going to get the additional summon effect, but adding into a Tenpai Dragon Genroku, it can summon out as well. Oh, we are in battle phase, so we are going to get the secondary effect.
Charging on in there.
And then we'll get Genroku effect to summon from hand by adding it to hand.
Yeah. One of my favorite effects in the game. Search it, hand? No, that's on the field.
Now note, that monster summons out as a tuner. Whether or not you want to change the level, that is optional.
Okay, it's level. Yeah.
So it can be level 3
and I
or
think
4.
I think I just heard him say level 3. I believe Isaiah confirmed that. We'll see once the synchros start coming out, because we imagine that is what would happen next with this deck.
Seems like he wants to not use it with the Bestial Magnum. Obviously, 4 will be really hyped there, obviously, 6+4.
It's a bit difficult because of all the Tenpai monsters, Genroku is the one that can't really have its own synchro effect in the battle phase. And believe we are in battle phase since the Chandra did get summoned and added.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting that opting for the Magnum still in defense mode.
Hasn't been switched over yet, but he may be worried about later turns. But now Chandra is probably going to go and attack here, just trying to determine which target.
It has to attack the highest. It has to attack the highest monster thanks to Vanquisher. Rock of the Vanquisher. But damage chef, of course, we are going to get a summon of a monster. Which one is it going to be? We have option of Vajra. We have option of Hydra. Many draws.
I'll summon the green one.
Vajra.
Or the green one.
I like that.
Isaiah likes to call it.
There's the orange, there's the green, and there's also the white one.
So then
the monsters cannot, now fire dragon monsters in particular, cannot be destroyed by battle now. So even if we do attack into, the Caesar, that's not going to resolve in my monsters being destroyed.
Certainly helps there quite a bit as we blaze to victory. This is just one of many attacks. I think that's what's so neat about this deck is it kind of brings the battle phase back onto Duelist radar. There was a while where Duelists might concede when they see a million monsters on the board, but this isn't one that starts that way. It just gets one monster and then works it out.
Especially when you have the field spell, Sangen summoning, just protecting everything. Playing without that as of right now, though. So impressive that Isaiah has been able to get to this position.
Now, Genroku has activated its quick effect to tribute itself, and now we are going to summon out another dragon from the deck. This could lead to the field spell being placed onto the field if we are going for Pydra. We definitely don't want that as a tuner. As a tuner, there's not exactly that many monsters that requires 2 tuners. And so we're going to summon out Pydra. And Pydra does have that quick synchro in battle phase effect, which will matter a lot here. Now we have a 4, we have a 6. That could easily lead to the 10, which will lock out the battle phase from any further interaction. But we're going to go for a swing. Now this time we're not taking battle damage anymore because Pydra now is on the field.
It's a winning combination of all 3 of them on the board, but it's just about time for a synchro summon, so if going fast makes you feel alive, we'll be there soon.
Now note that he's attacking even though it's not going to destroy by battle, it's not really doing anything or dealing damage, but it's the attack count that we are increasing.
Once we get into the synchros, that will come into effect as they unlock additional effects based on how many times you had attacked, 3 being the magic number.
Yes. We're attempting to use the effect to synchro summon. Now, aren't most of the effects from the Vanquish, so mainly in main phase?
Usually they are, so the battle phase is definitely where Isaiah wants to be.
Now, the difficulty now is that both of these players are under Shifter, and I can say for sure, if a Dragon player, a Tenpai Dragon player is under Shifter, it's a lot more difficult when it comes to establishing game. And did the Pydra manage to get a search?
Looks like it did not.
Because I am not seeing a field spell on that field, and I believe the field spell can activate even if it is banished, but that's how you can kind of climb up on that damage. So we're going to synchro for a 10 right here.
For a 10.
Yeah, right time.
Isaiah's going to have to try and assemble a lethal amount of damage because, I mean, we already saw the Poplar in the hand of John. If we allow the turn to go back, that's going to be bad news for Isaiah because John's deck can very quickly assemble a scary field and probably look for a one-turn win on his turn.
Yeah, especially with the Caesar and the entire Vanquish Soul side already established. If these aren't getting cleared off, you're going to be facing off 2 engines now.
Two great decks that are great in their own right, but taste great together as well. But looks like we're just trying to decide between 2 of these Dragion monsters. You can only synchro summon out one of them. So
Okay, it's the big one.
It is the big one. We're going to have a Trident Dragion. And that's going to end up destroying some of your own cards. Now, here's the worry here. We are under Dimension Shifter. Why is this so hard? Because you don't get to maximize the effect of Sengenpai Biden Dragion, which summons back from the graveyard. That's the difficulty of playing under the Shifter. You can, but usually that's going to rely a little bit more on the field spell to get that damage.
Yeah. And I think that really threw Isaiah for a loop because if you use Dimensional Shifter against a traditional Snake Eyes deck, it kind of ends what they want to do. But the fact that John had the Vanquish Souls lines meant that, yeah, I mean, you can just play Vanquish Souls. Wait on the Snake Eyes for right now. Bring those out later.
they are kind of just lurking in the background, ready to establish a field if anything happens to those Vanquish Souls, but we haven't even gotten through this battle phase yet, so it might be premature. We've only destroyed one dragon, it appears, so we're just working our way through, but it's just not the same as having the field spell there, so it will have 3 total attacks since 2 were destroyed, but...
So we're going to start off with the attack into the Caesar Valius. Now they're going to be on equal attack. However, Fadra is still on the field, so the Trident Dragon will not be destroyed. And likely Heavy Bolger can also get attacked now, and that's going to take out 2 of those cards.
And I only saw one self-destruction from the Trident Dragon, so
That's
I don't know.
only 2 attacks.
Yeah, I believe it's only 2 attacks, not 3. So that means that it'll only clear out 2 options. We still have the Link monster. Can Trident Dragon and whatever else is in hand survive another turn here? Because Tenpai Dragon still can have very explosive turns if it gets back over to Isaiah yet again. I just curious if John's going to allow that.
But now I think we're going to move out of battle phase. I don't think this is going to be enough. I mean, there's a lot of cards committed on Isaiah's side, so he's going to link them off.
Not used to seeing this many Tenpai Dragons banished in the turn completing, but hey, that's a normal pass of a turn there with the Hieratic Seals and the Heavenly Spheres.
It's something.
So now I feel like that Dimension Shifter actually hurt Isaiah's own turn here. Because the Vanquish Soul side didn't really matter as much. Most cards go back to the hand. And now the Biden Dragon didn't make a showing here.
That is the difficulty when you go, as they say, blind second, right? You want to get that Dimension Shifter before you see anything hit the graveyard, but unfortunately that really can hurt. So, looks like we're back in Vanquish Soul Town.
And now we're activating Vanquish Soul Snow Devil, the trap. Isaiah is going to start off by taking 1,000. You revealed both a fire and a dark, I believe, if I saw that correctly.
That's 2 attributes revealed. We're going to get an additional summon. Oh, sorry, we're going to get search from Dr. Madlove. That is going to go into continue.
Well, we'll see if we put another quarter into this machine. For now, just passing across for a cut. Again, the Snake Eyes have not made an appearance other than to be revealed.
All right, go ahead.
I imagine that's going to change this turn, Steven. Let's see what John's got in store for us, because so many resources still available, and there's a singular seals that you're facing down. This is the struggle of Tenpai going first. If you know you're up against Tenpai Dragon, you'll just give it to them because they'll summon the Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres and usually just pass on that. But John has the advantage of already having a bit of a field assembled.
So we're activating the effect of Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. That's going to return the Rock of the Vanquisher. But because the monster was tributed, of course, it's going to activate.
Yeah, you're good.
We're going to see a summon of a monster from the deck. It's going to be a fire dragon, or rather a dragon, any dragon monster summoned from the deck.
With players picking up their deck to search out their respective cards, but goodness, if you're cheering for John, this definitely feels like it is going his way. He's been able to navigate through a lot of the interference that Isaiah put up, but it just hasn't been enough to clinch out the game. So we'll see if by adding Pantera here, he is ready to assemble the cards to victory.
So the monster that was summoned is Chandra. Chandra's at 0 attack and defense, because that's due to the effect of Hieratic Seal.
Hey, that's a throwback to actually getting Hieratic Seal's effect there. 0 dragons have never looked better.
It's something, I guess. One body on the field, 1 dragon to defend his life points, and then I believe 2 cards in hand, if I see that correct from Isaiah. Either way, potential interaction.
Oh boy, we are starting to see the snake eye.
It's going to begin.
Slowly kind of come crawling out now.
Just a little bit. Now, we've always talked about this. There is a certain point where you have to consider the time remaining on the clock and whether or not you're going to another game. But at the same point, you can get a lot of information from your opponent here by not conceding. So we'll see if that ends up paying off, just to see what kind of lines he decides he wants to make, or maybe find out if there's some Fiendsmith in the Snake Eye Vanquish Soul deck too.
Yeah, you know, get that info. You know, gotta dig. You know, it will drastically change up how you would interact if you see 2 monsters on the field. That is one of the key points.
That is a good point.
Level 1.
So a level 1 fire monster is going to be summoned out, and that's going to be Snake Eye Ash. Oh,
The combo begins.
Everyone's favorite.
So now Ash effect. I mean, we can grab another Poplar. Poplar can summon out again.
Yeah.
That doesn't really, you know, affect too much. We're not going to get another effect from this Poplar because we already normaled one.
We haven't used the second effect of Poplar yet. Or third effect, I'm trying to remember the order of them. The one that allows you to put one back into the spell and trap card zone, but I imagine we'll probably do that here.
So right now, the danger on this current field, especially now, just because you're going into battle phase against, say, a Tenpai player, they have Tenpai monsters, just be very careful that they can still play on your turn. They could synchro on your turn. You one misstep of declaring an attack could mean the end of your entire field.
Interesting that John didn't use the Oak effect to summon, just immediately went into the Tribute effect to summon the Flamberge from deck.
He may be saving that just in case Flamberge goes to the graveyard. Then he could special summon the Snake Eye Oak back and then bring another body. So just like we talked about with some of the Fiendsmith cards, everybody, you know, they see the field, they see the deck lists. They don't see that there's so much nuance here. So maybe that'll pay off later.
Steven, this is one of those moments that I'm always humbly reminded there's a reason I'm here and they're there on the table in the feature match. That would be a very unique read, but we have the DD Crow in hand for Isaiah.
Flamberge Dragon. I was a bit surprised. I thought we were going to take away the Oak.
Yeah.
But
The
most
Flamberge-
people have
yeah.
shifted only to play 1 Flamberge Dragon because they're not relying into getting into Hope Harbinger anymore.
Well, there's also very little space when you also have a bunch of Vanquish Soul cards in there. It's not as easy as just like, yeah, I could run another Flamberge Dragon. But speaking of Vanquish Souls, field are starting to fill back up as Rosin reappears there, being brought up by Promethean Princess, Bestower of Flames. And now we're going to our next Link summon.
It's got to be a fire, and it's going to be Salamangreat Raging Phoenix.
And when we talk about real estate in that extra deck, contrary to the popular memes, it's not free. You do have to make decisions. And this is one of the ones that some players have been dropping. I still like it because it gives you that push to end games. And that's exactly what John will be thinking about. I imagine John is thinking about right now is how do I end this duel right now?
Perfect. We're going to the World Sea Dragon Zelantis. Zelantis can technically flip that Chandra phase down and more or less bypass that effect. And once you get into battle phase with the Co-Link Zelantis, there's going to be cards being destroyed before they even get a chance to activate.
And speaking of activations, it looks like we're getting the Inferno Banshee here. Let's go ahead and grab another Pyro Monster from the deck.
Now Zelandis.
I have not seen this play since the quarter century event.
That's true, that's
Yep.
true. I almost had a jump scare that we might see Arch Nemesis Protoss. But lucky for us, we're just seeing the cards that we're used to here. So again, looks like we're going to move everything up, flip that Chandra face down, and here we are in the battle phase.
I was wondering how the Vanquish Souls bridges into the Snake Eyes, but yeah, there it is. We see it in the extra deck of all places.
And we're summoning back the Promethean Princess, and Isaiah picks up.
Will John opt for? And was Tenpai on his radar going into this event? Because you have to make that decision before the event starts.
I'm pretty sure Tenpai was on everyone's radar going in. This is such a massive event. Tenpai being one of the decks that a lot of people like playing. They like going into the battle phase. It's got a lot of cool synchro dragons that you have access to. And the battle phase, I think the battle phase part is probably like the coolest mechanic that you can actually play under. So,
Well, speaking of playing under mechanics, we did have Molcharmi discarded there again, so we're going to have some draws happen.
are we going to see Ash Blossom being met?
Oh, did not choose to do that. Needed to reveal a fire, I suppose.
I will special summon from my deck a Vanquish Soul monster of the same
Ooh, this is very interesting. Would you play the Vanquish Soul under the Molcharmi?
He's going to have to. Looks
There's
like
at
that's
least
what
going
he's
to be one
doing.
card drawn, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering maybe if there's enough other interruption that John has in hand, that he's just going to go for a simplified Vanquish Souls, field and then pass, similar to what we saw in that Duel 1.
So we're attempting to activate the effect of Raisin right now. Now, if Raisin gets that surge, Isaiah feeling a little itchy there on his hand. He's ready to kind of interact.
Oh, he's got that thumb on the draw and lockbird ready, and now it shuffles back out. Don't do it yet. You'll interrupt yourself, but it could be good to interrupt the opponent.
That is a tough combo with that Mulcharmy.
Gotta let him finish getting that surge. Confirm the game state. Confirm the game state here. Is it going for Mad Love, or are we going to go for something else?
You know what?
Well, he's taking his soul. This choice is important.
You gotta play at a reasonable pace here when it comes to searching your cards.
That is true. This is a Yu-Gi-Oh competition, and with the best and brightest, the rules are in full effect. So you cannot, well, again, it is time to duel.
I'll drop.
Yep.
So we got a normal summon draw from the Dr. Madlove. See, if he activates his draw, he would have just not been able to draw cards. It's like such a big conflict here. I'm drawing cards, but do I want to lock you out?
I'm trying to see what else is in the hand, because that would be the real indicator of, do you have enough cards? Because the idea of a card like Mulcharmy is, what's the purpose of drawing cards? To get to the cards that you want to see on your first turn. If you already have those in your hand, I'm a bigger fan of using that Duel and Lockbird.
Well, I think you're exactly right. He did have Sungen summoning the field spell in his hand, which is a quick way to get Tenpai started. So we are seeing the Duel and Lockbird discarded right now.
I find this to be so conflicting. These are both conflicting disruptions. One, putting the game state where every single summon from hand is going to draw you a card. Now you're going to lock yourself from those draws as well. And you're back down to 4 cards, as if you kind of just traded a few cards.
You got 4 cards in there?
And you're not going to get any more.
It is difficult. Mulcharmy is a powerful card, but only in the hands of a duelist who is ready to use it effectively. But maybe Isaiah thought that it was time to call time. He's got his field spell. He has what he needs. And now it's just a little different here as Diabellstar, the Black Witch, hits the field.
If you're satisfied with your hand, you might as well use the Duel and Lockbird, even if you're locking yourself out of potential additional draws.
I mean, I think for a Tenpai deck, you just want as much as possible.
Well, we'll have to see next turn how it pays off.
We're going to see if this is going to pay off, because right now we have John bypassing it by just setting cards straight to the field, and that would have been 1 additional draw as well.
This is the strength of Snake Eyes as well, is that they can get around a Duel and Lockbird through pretty creative means, special summoning from the deck, setting from the deck. You're really only stopping that Snake Eyes Ash and the Poplar as, John quickly recovers the card. No damage done.
5-second rule, card's still going to be played on the field. Of course, we're going to go ahead and use Diabellstar as food for the original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye, and maybe grab somebody else from the deck here.
Is it going to be an Oak, or is it Ash? Like, what are we going for at this point? You can't add a card to your hands. So Poplar doesn't exactly do anything here, so if you summon out the Ash. I mean, there is still technically a second monster on the field. There is still, in the middle, there's a Rock of the Vanquisher. So we're going to go for Snake Eye Ash. We're under draw still.
So no search. We can go into a Link 2 and then, I don't know, try and play around from there.
Well, Ash into Oak can lead to something, but we need more cards. This is a field that needs more cards.
That shows you with both duelists packing Droll and Lockbird, it's going to be kind of awkward and constricting as cards are really not being added to the hand. The resources are dwindling bit by bit.
And I'm seeing the other cards in John's hand from the top cam here. It looks like there's an Ash Blossom and a Droll, maybe 2 Drolls.
There are 2 Drolls.
And then on the other side, Isaiah's working with a DD Crow, and I believe 2 Sangan Summonings, if I saw that correctly. And it looks like, is that it? That's it?
Oh,
That's the pass.
Ooh, so there is going to be a drawn second copy of Sangan Summoning. Is there a Sangan Kaimin to start the turn? There is not. On activation field, but any response?
Taking a quick look through the graveyard before we make our decision here. This is going to be an important one.
This is a difficult thing to play in terms of Vanquish Soul. Vanquish Soul can hit most things in the Spell and Trap Zone, anything in the Monster and Spell and Trap Zone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Spell kind of out of the way. You don't have that column attack on those, column pressure there.
Field spell is just a little too far across the field for them to reach.
John,
don't give ideas for new mechanics, though.
Uh-oh.
John taking a thought here, allowing it, or are we going to hit it with an Ash Blossom?
Yeah, the Ash is in hand. We can allow it and then Droll.
Oh, revealing the Hydra is likely going to
There we go.
Droll.
Yep.
Droll is okay.
Droll is okay.
second summon.
Yeah, and it looks like there is that third summoning. So it was 3 Sangan summonings in hand for Isaiah.
So one thing to note is that, you know, the discard needs to happen before we drop that Joel. Because some people might change up the cards they may throw away.
That is correct. You're right. You got to slow down and let your opponent finish resolving their effects there. But again, just working our way through here. And oh, looks like the Dust Devil's being activated again.
We take 1,000 damage from the trap card. Dust Devil or Snow Devil.
16 minutes left on the clock, and it does... I expect that we won't go to time with these decks. They're both quite explosive, but sometimes that a little bit of chip damage will be the difference maker, especially when you're the one up in the series.
Oh, yeah, it's on front. Yep.
Oh, he tried to activate the effect of Ryzen to destroy the Hydra, but we are under Sangan summoning. That's going to be unaffected.
Ooh.
Powerful field spell.
Okay, now with still under Droll, how likely is it that we can actually win this? We still saw the Ash in John's hand, meaning that special summon from the deck is going to be off the table.
No, it's still available because it's going to be damage step from Chandra.
That's a good
Damage
point.
step.
Yes, it does get around that.
It doesn't seem like we're going to go into Kaiman, so most of this stuff is likely going to go through, and all this damage likely will push Isaiah into the next game.
For the Duel Academy lesson,
chance.
for the lesson for those at home, remember that Ash Blossom negates effects, but it doesn't negate activation, so it can't be used during the damage step when Chandra does what it does best.
Damage step, we summon out Fadra, and John
there
is
we
picking up his
go.
cards. Isaiah.
This could come down to a game of time, depending on how long these combos are to start off, and it is John going first.
That is an interesting point to make. John going first. He chose to go first. Maybe he's put in some dimension barrier, siding in just to... Like, I know you like skipping turns, but maybe I can skip your turn back kind of deal.
Well, he also might just think I can put enough resources in order to hold out on that, but maybe not when Droll and Lockbird slams down.
Now, Droll and Lockbird on Snake Eye Ash isn't the end-all be-all. There are pivots around that particular play where you can still build a rather decent field still, but it does shut down the entirety of the Vanquish Soul cards now.
Yeah.
Well, Isaiah kind of in a similar spot. Looks like we're looking at 2 Sangan summonings in the hand, but also a Ghost Mortar and Moonlit Chill at the ready as he sort of thumbs that card, just ready to drop it down at the right moment.
Yeah, more disruptions available for Isaiah.
It can also lead to damage, too. If that monster that's negated gets put into the graveyard, that's going to be damage done, shortening the reach required for the battle phase when it comes back to Isaiah's turn. That's all possibility.
It's actually in hand or deck.
And we are summoning an Oak from the hand. Ooh, that's going to be a costly summon.
Yeah, drawing that is never ideal for the Snake Eyes player. You want to get that out of the deck so you have more resources in your hand. But it will still allow for a combo to continue.
He's contemplating whether or not he's going to drop that Ghost Mortar.
I can't activate anything on the summon. I have to respond to this. That's fine.
He's allowing it to summon back. And get the Poplar.
Interesting.
I'm wondering what we're saving it for then. Clearly we think that there's a bigger threat.
This is going to lead into the Flamberge now. These are the pivots we're talking about. If they get into the Flamberge at this point, we're just going to cycle a lot of cards onto the field. This is at least 5 monsters just going to pop in on and off of the field now.
I'm wondering if we're thinking about trying to stop the Promethean Princess line. A lot of times Snake Eyes will go into a pretty much solved line at this point. It's tough to always say that because duelists are so creative, they'll find other ways to play it. But what we've seen time and time again is this play. You go into the IP, you're going to go into a Promethean Princess, bring back the Flamberge, and then, you know, go. We already saw the Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, so maybe we're going to hit that Promethean Princess to prevent that Flamberge from coming back.
Well, it's time to find out if he's going to save it or spend it as we're thumbing through the extra deck here to special summon, yep, exactly, Promethean Princess.
Yeah.
There's a danger to negating this card, though. You turn off the Fire Lock, it means you can just link it away as well.
There's the spending.
So we are dropping, as you called it.
I mean, it really is the only other area that makes sense to go for that type of play. So Isaiah is making a calculated risk because, like you said, Tombox, now we can pivot away from that Fire Lock if you're on the side of John.
John setting 1 card. Passing turn. If this top deck is going to be Sangan Kaiman, it's going to be an insane hard
That's it.
All right, let's see. Draw for turn.
Ooh, that is not a card that he wants to see at this particular point. He already has that card on the field, and that's Genroku. And if there's only 2 copies of Genroku, that's going to be a tough time.
In hand for John, we saw Droll and Lockbird and Ash Blossom, 2 very strong cards to try and slow this down. Looks like we're going to wait for that droll, though.
Time to speed things up, though, as we activate Sangen Summoning to grab in the Tenpai Dragon Hydra and discarding the extra Tenpai Dragon Genroku. But that's the Droll and Lockbird.
Met with a Droll and Lockbird.
Here a yikes from Isaiah.
Ooh, shows you that these duelists are not just dueling machines, they're humans too.
Yeah.
I felt like there could have been a different search that could have led to a different play, such as maybe search for a Chandra so you can normal summon Genroku. Genroku can already get the Pydra out, so then you would be able to get both Chandra and a Pydra eventually onto the field. Now you only have one normal summon available, and this is all you can do with this. But that is going to be met with an Ash Blossom as well.
And I imagine is just it. There's no more gas in the hand of Isaiah. He says that's really good.
That's really good.
It is really good. Uh-oh.
And he's passing on an empty field.
Okay.
People clapping. It's not over yet, but it does feel like if you're a Tenpai Dragon fan, this may not be your game.
I really am going to feel bad for what I'm about to do.
Does
John preferencing, I'm about to do something very strong.
So first and foremost, I've already committed to it.
Looks like we're going to link off into Hita here. Maybe steal a
Hita is
fire.
going to take one of those dragons and summon it onto the field.
Is that quarter century secret rare to boot? It's like, oh man, that card looks so good. Here, let me see it over on this field. But rarities be gone. We're going to go ahead and link off. Looks like probably the Flambird Dragon and the Genroku here, which is just going to cause a cascade of Snake Eye monsters on the field.
I mean, you can pretty much play it safe here. You can even go into an Appaloosa just to line up your next monsters. It's going to be a Flambird. Flambird's going to bring back a ton of other monsters as well, but we're just going to take the Flambird and the Genroku, and we're going to link summon those two together into Phoenix, Nightmare Phoenix.
Target.
Love seeing a card like Nightmare Phoenix still played to this day. One of my favorite cards of all Link monsters, and it's just so relevant in this Snake Eyes deck, and we can see the power of it here. We are just flooding the field.
Now just gotta be careful with your chain links here now, because that's gonna be a new chain on the Nightmare Phoenix and the Flambird. So if you're gonna be moving cards, just know your chain links, where sometimes things could be, oh, that was actually part of a different chain. You've actually missed the time. You gotta be careful of those things. But this looks like a ton of damage already. Adding 1100 to all those little Snake Eye monsters, level 2 monsters. Sorry, they're level 1 monsters, and including the Phoenix. This is actually enough damage already.
Yeah. Now, I mean, at this point, we're just styling. Let's see if John wants to do more. There we go. Let's keep it going. We're playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now.
I mean, that was a bit of a dangerous play a little bit. What if there was a Nibiru?
I'm sorry, my man.
Well, there's no